Did anyone ever warn you what really happens after 80? Why does life, so full just a decade ago, suddenly feel quieter, emptier, almost unfamiliar? There's a hidden shift that comes with this age, and unless you've lived it, no one truly talks about it. Crossing into your 80s brings more than just slower mornings or another birthday celebration. Beneath the surface, there are deeper, more subtle changes, ones that most people don't speak about out loud. It's a time colored by both clarity and loss, connection and distance. There's a kind of stillness that offers peace, but sometimes it also brings loneliness. If you're not ready for it, these changes can feel like they've crept in overnight, catching you completely off guard. You might find yourself thinking, why didn't someone tell me? Mosty, Nikki, it's me. That's why we're here. This video explores 5 brutal realities of life after 80, not to scare you, not to bring you down, but to help you see clearly. When you understand what's ahead, you gain back your power. You can prepare, respond, and meet these moments with strength rather than surprise. We'll talk about shrinking social circles, the body that no longer recovers the way it once did, the subtle but growing reliance on others that feels awkward even when necessary, and the quiet way society begins to look past you. And then there's that strange ache, when old regrets echo louder in a life that suddenly feels like it has more time than purpose. Stick with us until the end. Yes, some of these truths are heavy, but they can also become a source of strength. They reveal something beautiful: acceptance, resilience, and the chance to write the final chapter of your life on your own terms, with clarity and dignity that no one else gets to define but you. Let's begin with one of the most overlooked shifts after 80. Your social circle begins to quietly disappear. One of the first changes you'll notice after turning 80 isn't physical. It's emotional and social. The friends, loved ones, and familiar faces who once shaped your everyday life, they start to vanish. Some move away. Others grow too tired to visit. Some, sadly, pass on. And suddenly, the vibrant web of relationships that once surrounded you begins to thin out. It begins to fade, quietly, often without any warning. Friends pass away. Neighbors relocate. Siblings grow quieter, less present. Even those longtime companions who once called you every week, now their calls come every few months, if at all. It's not because they've stopped caring. It's just time. Life changes. But no matter how strong or fiercely independent you are, it leaves a space, and that space feels strangely hollow. You wake up one morning and realize something's missing. The phone doesn't ring like it used to. The house feels still. Invitations don't come as often. Family visits? They feel shorter, more rushed, squeezed between obligations. People still love you, of course they do, but they're overwhelmed, distracted, sometimes even struggling with their own aging journeys. Little by little, the daily moments that once filled your world, chats on the porch, unexpected visitors, shared laughter, begin to thin out. And no one really tells you to expect this. In your 60s and even 70s, there's still motion, still energy. Friends are alive, engaged, checking in. But after 80, there's a quiet shift, one you only truly feel when it happens to you. You begin to outlive the people who once made up your world. You begin to outpace conversations, memories, routines. That shift is so subtle, you might not notice it at first. But then, one day, it hits you. I remember a man named Walter. He was 84. Every morning, for years, he'd visit the same little coffee shop. He never had to place his order. They already knew it. His friends would gather there. No need to text or plan. It was just part of the rhythm of life. But over time, those friends stopped showing up. Some passed on. Some moved away. Some simply stopped driving. One morning, Walter looked up from his usual seat and said, "It's strange to walk into a place where everyone used to know your name, and now you're just the man in the corner booth." That kind of loneliness doesn't always scream. It doesn't always come with tears. Sometimes it's just a quiet evening when dinner ends a little too soon, or a walk that feels emptier than usual. It's the soft realization that the list of people who truly know you, who've seen your life unfold, is getting shorter, and there's no way to stop that. But here's the powerful truth. Knowing this is happening gives you the chance to act. You can still open new doors, even if others have closed. You can choose connection on your own terms. Maybe it's a church group, a regular lunch, a phone call you make first, or even a handwritten letter. Because after 80, connection doesn't just happen. You create it. To you, the way it once did. You have to go out and get it. And that takes courage. But if you've made it this far in life, that courage is already a part of who you are, etched into every chapter you've lived through. Number 2, a body that stops bouncing back. By the time you reach 80, your body no longer whispers, it speaks loud and clear. The little aches that used to come and go now stay with you. Fatigue, which once faded after a short nap, might stretch well into the next day or even linger longer. One of the most jarring realizations for many people is this. After 80, even the smallest health issues can alter your life, suddenly and dramatically. You might wake up feeling completely fine, go about your daily routine, and by evening, something feels off. A wave of dizziness, a sore leg that wasn't there that morning, a persistent cough. And before you know it, you're in a waiting room listening to terms like monitoring, imaging, or possible admission. What once could be solved with a bit of rest now requires serious attention. And more often than not, there's no going back to exactly how things were. What makes this stage of life especially hard isn't just the discomfort, it's the unpredictability. You can do all the right things, eat nourishing food, keep moving gently, get quality sleep, and still feel like your body is making decisions without you. A small stumble on the stairs can mean weeks of limited mobility. A mild stomach bug might sap your energy for days. And even when you get better, something feels different. Maybe your balance is a little off. Maybe it takes more effort just to breathe. Recovery no longer means returning to the old normal. It means learning a new one. I remember meeting a woman named Gloria, age 81. She was bright, active, and fiercely proud of her independence. She loved her backyard garden, took daily walks around the neighborhood, and never missed a meeting with her book club. But one day, while trimming a rose bush, she had a minor fall. It wasn't the injury that changed her life. It was everything that came after. Weeks of rest turned into months of lost strength. Her confidence, once unshakable, began to waver. "I thought I was just taking a break," she told me, but my body treated it like a full stop. And that's something no one prepares you for. At 80, rest doesn't always restore. It can quietly become decline. And even when you're cautious, even when you do everything right, your body might decide it's time to slow down anyway. You realize that you're no longer bouncing back. You're adapting forward. But here's the strength lies in knowing this truth. You begin to treat your energy differently, not with fear, but with a quiet wisdom. You start pacing yourself not because you're fragile, but because you've earned the right to move with care. Your body has carried you through a lifetime. Now, you learn to honor it. Health is no longer something you assume. It becomes a conscious, daily ritual. You take your time. You rest not out of weakness, but with intention. And even if your steps are slower, they become more grounded. You walk with awareness. You breathe with purpose. Because when you accept the pace of your body, you begin to see that, while it may slow down, your spirit does not have to. There is dignity in slowing down when it's done with grace. Even without the bounce, there is strength in your steps. Your foundation grows steadier, and the smallest moments, resting in a chair, standing in the sunlight, become richer when approached with presence. If you're still watching and finding these insights helpful, take a moment to comment number 2 below. It lets me know you're here, walking this journey with us. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I truly recommend hitting that button and turning on the bell icon. That way, you'll never miss a new video, because your support helps us keep making meaningful content to inform, uplift, and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Number 3, a growing need for help. No matter how independent you've been your whole life, one of the hardest things to face after 80 is this. You begin to need help with things that once felt effortless. It doesn't happen suddenly. It creeps in, quietly, slowly, subtly, until one day, it's undeniable. You catch yourself skipping the top shelf because it's just too much of a stretch. You grip the stair railing more firmly. Ispini? Even if you tell yourself it's just in case. You pause before driving on a rainy day, weighing the risk in a way you never used to. And though part of you still feels capable and confident, there's another part, perhaps quieter, that knows some things just aren't as easy anymore. What makes this so challenging isn't only the physical change, it's the emotional one. After a lifetime of being the strong one, the helper, the caregiver, the one others leaned on, admitting that you now need support can feel deeply unsettling. It touches something vulnerable. You might begin to feel like you're a burden, even when no one says so. Or worse, you may start keeping quiet about your struggles, just to avoid asking for help. You may begin hiding the things you can no longer do with ease. You skip the grocery trip, not because you don't need anything, but because navigating the aisles feels overwhelming. You stay quiet about that recent fall, just a stumble while changing a light bulb, because you don't want to worry your kids. Even though your shoulder's been aching for weeks, you don't mention it. Why? Because deep down, that fierce desire to remain independent hasn't gone anywhere. In fact, it often grows even stronger with age. But here's something important. Independence after 80 doesn't look the same as it did at 60 or 70. It's no longer about doing everything completely on your own. It becomes about something far more meaningful, recognizing when you need help and having the courage to receive it. That's not surrender. That's wisdom. I once knew a man named Eugene. He was 85, strong-willed, and proud of the life he'd built. He had lived through war, raised 4 children, and even built a backyard shed using only spare lumber and grit. For Eugene, doing things himself wasn't just a habit. It was his identity. But one icy winter morning, he slipped on his driveway. No bones were broken, but his pride took a hard hit. He didn't mention it to anyone. Still, his daughter noticed something had changed. She began dropping by once a week, bringing groceries and staying for coffee. At first, Eugene pushed back. "I'm fine," he insisted. But week after week, she returned. That shared coffee eventually became a ritual, and one day, almost casually, Eugene admitted something that surprised even him. "It's nice not having to carry everything alone." That's the real shift. It's not about weakness. It's about knowing what truly matters. Accepting help isn't the end of independence. It's how you protect it. When someone gives you a hand on the stairs, or offers to drive you to the doctor, or helps lift that heavy grocery bag, it's not taking something away from you. It's giving you more time and energy for what matters most. And not all help has to come from people. Sometimes it's a grab bar installed in the shower, a sturdy stool in the kitchen, a sticky note reminder on the fridge. These quiet little supports don't diminish your dignity. They preserve it. They allow you to live more safely, more comfortably, and with greater peace of mind. After 80, one of the bravest things you can say might just be, "I could use a hand." Because as you grow older, real strength isn't measured in how much you carry. It's in the choices you make to stay safe instead of stubborn, connected instead of isolated, and peaceful instead of constantly pushing through. Number 4. A presence the world starts to overlook. There's a quiet pain that doesn't always come from the body or even the mind, but from the way your presence begins to fade in the world. It's not always intentional, not always cruel. But slowly, you start to feel invisible. Not to your family or those who love you, perhaps, but to society at large. The cashier looks over your head and greets the younger person behind you. The doctor, instead of speaking directly to you, turns to your adult child and explains the diagnosis. The server at the restaurant assumes you can't hear clearly, think for yourself, or make your own choices. At first, it's subtle, almost easy to ignore, but then it happens more often. And no matter how gracefully you try to brush it off, It settles somewhere deep inside. Because no matter our age, we all want to feel seen, truly seen. And when you've lived a full life, worked hard, raised a family, made countless decisions, endured hardships, there's something deeply unsettling about being dismissed simply because your skin has softened or your hair has turned gray. What cuts deeper is that this disregard rarely comes from a place of cruelty. It's not malicious. It's cultural. A fast-moving world forgets that slow steps still carry long stories. A youth-obsessed society overlooks the strength, the resilience, and the quiet wisdom it took to reach this stage of life. And if you're not careful, if you don't actively speak up, there's a risk of shrinking. Not because your voice has faded, but because others have stopped listening. I once met a woman named Irene. She was 86, sharp as ever, and volunteered at a local museum. One afternoon, a visitor asked a historical question, a simple one, about a decade Irene had actually lived through. She knew the answer by heart, but the question bypassed her. It was directed at a younger staff member. Irene said nothing at the time, just smiled politely when I brought it up later. "I'm used to it," she said. But there was something in her smile, a quiet ache, the kind of sadness that comes not from being ignored once, but from being repeatedly seen as invisible, as if her presence in the room had blurred into the background. But here's the truth. You are not background. You are not furniture. You are still here, thinking, feeling, remembering, contributing. And just because the world sometimes forgets that doesn't mean you have to. So, what can you do? You speak. You raise your hand. You ask the question. You offer your opinion. You vote. You tell your stories, even if no one asks. You stand, yes, even if your knees aren't as steady as they once were, because each time you claim your voice, you reclaim your place. You remind the world and even more importantly, yourself, you are not done yet. You are not invisible. You are a living library, full of memories, insights, and stories that the world still needs. You've witnessed time, endured change, and carried wisdom that no book or screen can replicate. And your voice? It still matters. You don't have to shout. You just have to refuse to fade away. If you're still here, watching this video, and finding value in these reflections, take a moment to comment number 4 below to let me know you're with us. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I truly recommend doing so and turning on the bell. That way, you'll never miss out on videos designed to inform, support, and uplift you. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful content for this stage of life. Let's continue. Number 5. A sense of regret if purpose isn't redefined. As you move deeper into your 80s, a new kind of stillness begins to settle in. It's not just the quiet of your home or a lighter calendar. It's something internal. Life slows down. The days aren't as busy, the schedule's less demanding. And with that slowness comes space. Space to think, to remember, to revisit the past. That reflection can be a gift. But it can also become heavy if you're not careful. Not the kind of heavy that shouts. It's quieter. It shows up in moments of stillness. The thoughts that whisper, "I wish I'd spent more time with them," or, "Why didn't I take that chance when I had it?" It's the kind of regret that surfaces when you finally have the time, but not always the energy or freedom to do the things you once put off. It's not something people talk about much. Culturally, we love to celebrate the bright side of aging, the wisdom, the freedom, the joy of grandchildren. And yes, all of that is real. But so is the quiet question that often lingers beneath the surface. What now? If you've spent most of your life working, giving, running, raising, serving, when all of that stops, it can feel like you have stopped too, like your purpose has packed up and left with your old routines. I remember a man named Stanley. He was 88 and had been a high school teacher for over 4 decades. When he retired, he felt a sense of pride, but also an unfamiliar emptiness. "No one needs me anymore," he once said. But that wasn't true. He just hadn't found a new way to be needed. Because purpose doesn't retire, it simply changes form. Maybe you no longer build houses, but you build courage in your great-grandchildren with your stories. Maybe you don't run meetings anymore, but your presence comforts someone grieving. Maybe you don't solve complex problems, but a warm smile to your neighbor eases their loneliness in a way you'll never fully see. The real danger of regret isn't that you made mistakes. We all have. It's staying stuck in them, sitting in that sadness too long, letting it convince you that your best contributions are behind you. Turning those feelings into something meaningful is where the shift begins. When you redefine purpose, not as productivity, but as presence, you unlock a different kind of value. You begin to realize that you still have so much to offer, not just to those around you, but to yourself. Because the most important work you may ever do after 80 isn't about leaving a legacy or chasing applause. It may simply be this: waking up each day with kindness in your heart, curiosity in your eyes, and the quiet courage to ask yourself, how can I bring light today, even if it's just a little? That, my friend, is not regret. That is redemption, and it is never too late to find it. Reaching your 80s is no small milestone. It's a powerful landmark carved from decades of love, effort, loss, growth, and resilience. With that strength, however, come new challenges, some subtle, others impossible to ignore. But acknowledging these truths doesn't make you weak. It makes you honest. It means you've lived long enough to see life not just through rose-colored memories, but through its real, raw, and meaningful moments. Life at this stage is unpredictable. Sometimes it's unfair, but it's still worth showing up for, again and again. So let me ask you, which of these 5 truths spoke to you the most? Was it the silence that arrives when your social world quietly shrinks? The frustration of a body that no longer heals the way it used to? The uncomfortable shift of needing help when you've always been the one giving it? The ache of invisibility when the world looks past you? Or the lingering sense of, what now, when your sense of purpose feels unclear? Whatever touched you most, I hope you felt seen, truly seen. Because you are not alone in any of this. Not in the slowing down, not in the forgetting, not in the long late-night thoughts or the quiet moments of wondering what's next. And here's the beautiful truth. Even now, especially now, you still get to choose. You can choose connection over isolation. You can choose rest without guilt. You can choose to ask for help, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. You can choose to raise your voice when someone overlooks you, and soften it when someone needs your grace. You can choose to forgive yourself for what didn't happen, and honor yourself for what did. This chapter of life is not the ending. It's the deep, powerful part of the story, the part where every word carries more weight, where small gestures matter more than grand ones ever did, where your presence, your patience, and your perspective, these become your greatest power. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. We'd truly love to hear from you. Please leave a comment below and share one thing that stood out to you and how you plan to carry it forward in your life. Your thoughts mean a lot to us, and reading your comments gives us motivation and encouragement to keep creating. If you enjoyed this video and found it meaningful, please like, subscribe, and share it. Your support allows us to continue bringing valuable content that informs, uplifts, and inspires. Wishing you good health, deep happiness, and lasting peace. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We'll see you again very soon.